book, and it's been about 11 years now. Is that right? Since the book came out, Spiritual Warfare, Christians, Demonization, and Deliverance.
Yeah, it originally came out in 08. In 21, last year, I added 2 new chapters to it. So I had a revision in 21, but the first 10 chapters are the same book, word for word, other than I added a whole bunch of, had a number of people say they would like to endorse the book. And some real solid people, have been willing to endorse the book. But the book from 08 until 20 was basically the same different jacket cover, but same book. In 21, I added covers. So the new one is Republic Publishers, and it's got 12 chapters instead of 10, and it's got 24 more endorsements on it. Other than that, the first 10 chapters are the same book, Travis.
What are I didn't know it was redone, which is awesome, actually. But what were the 2 chapters you added?
11 and 12. What happened over the years, I've had so many people call me, whether it's pastors, missionaries, in-state, out-of-state, butchers, bakers, candlestick makers, people that recognize, there's this stuff is real. A lot of them grew up the way I did. I think it puts them a little bit at ease when I say one of my chapters, how does an ordained conservative Baptist minister get involved with spiritual warfare? I've had people invite me in to speak, say, I want you to speak just because you don't fit. I mean, you don't fit the normal bill of what we think of with circuses and I feel and in my heart I believe, and you're actually really, really direct about Bible and such. But I got so many questions, Travis, about interviewing from people who had either wanted to work with this or people who had worked through it, and now saying, I've worked with more pastors and missionaries than you would ever guess. I was surprised. I figured most of the people I'd work with would be drug addicts and alcoholics and that kind of thing. I work with more pastors and missionaries, real solid Christian people, leaders, and it makes sense. You didn't ask why, but I'm going to say you asked why. I'm saying if you were a very smart enemy, you would keep your best ammo for the people that can hurt you. And people that are already so far out of it, they're not going to bother anybody for the cause of Christ. Why wake them up? Just let them keep throwing their life away. If they think they're a Christian that's paddling out in a little boat out in the ocean because you should be the 4th member of the Godhead because there's nobody quite as spiritual as you. You're not affecting anybody. I mean, you've got a high opinion of yourself. Or the other side of the coin, you feel like you failed God so many times, you've just given up, or you just isolate yourself. I'm going, if I'm the other side, I'm saving my best ammo for the Travis types that are actually wanting to stand up for their faith because they're the ones that can hurt me. The ones that have removed themselves and isolated themselves, they're already doing what I want. So why do I have to waste good ammo on someone that's moved themselves out of the picture anyway? So when I say I have worked with more church leaders than you would ever guess, that is just absolutely true. And so I kept getting questions about, okay, in your interview process, what are you looking for? And how do you tell the difference between demonization and people are just psychotic? And what are you looking for? Because you don't work with everybody you interview. So I wrote a chapter on, just some tips for if you're working with this and you're interviewing people, trying to, where are they coming from? What is going on? Is this spiritual? It may be. Is it physiological? Surely could be. Is it mental? I try to make the point in that book. I believe all 3 are real, and I believe people can be impacted by all 3. So I don't blame it all on the flesh, which was my schooling. Everything's the flesh. You can ignore the spiritual. That's just where the crazies that don't know their Bible spend most of their time, making stuff up. But the world, very real as an opponent. The flesh, chapters 4, 5, and 6. How do you recognize the world as an opponent? How do you respond to it? How do you recognize the flesh as an opponent? How do you respond to it? Chapter 6. How do you recognize the demonic archers and respond to it? I wanted to be able to have people say, instead of saying I'm really good at one of them, but I get clobbered by the other 2, I'll say, how about you just learn how to recognize and respond to all 3, and then it really doesn't matter which one you're having to deal with or the people you're working with. So chapter 11 became how you recognize that. Chapter 12 became if you're in the middle of working with someone who is demonized, they're really involved with demons. And then this happens, what do you do? And then that happens, what do you do? And then, in other words, I got so many questions over the years from people in the middle of it that would call me and say, man, we're working with this, but this happened. And I thought, why not just put it in the book? So the first 10 are the same 10, plenty adequate for being able to recognize world, flesh, and devil, and plenty adequate, chapter 8, for saying if you're actually working with this, you can take step by step and work through chapter 8. And guess what? If the people are for real and you know what you're doing, demons, you can make demons leave. Chapter 11 and 12, the two new ones became, if you're already practitioners, you're working with this stuff. And brother, I don't care about your denomination. I've approached that the same way I did as a chaplain in the NFL for so many years. I'll say, I don't care what the label on the bottle is. All I care about is what's in the bottle. So you can tell me you have a charismatic background, a high church, a low church, a free church. I don't care. I'll just say again, what can you put on the table? That's what I care about. Obviously, I understand doctrinal distinctives. I know where I come from. I'm pre-mill, pre-trib. If someone wants to understand that, I'm not a cessationist if they want to understand that. 99% of the people don't know what any of that means.
That's right.
They just, I love Jesus and I'm supposed to be doing great. And yet in my mind, my body is a prison instead of a temple. And I don't get it. And it's always been that way. And I am now suicidal. I'm thinking about killing myself. But if I told my pastor, I told a friend, they didn't believe me, thought I was just making it up, whatever. I don't know where to turn, just more depressing. I got so used to that stuff. And then pastors and missionaries and such calling me saying, will you walk me through your interview process? Will you walk me through when you're actually working with someone? So I put those 2 chapters in there. And the feedback I've got from practitioners is, man, that was really helpful. That was really helpful. So that's why I added the new material, brother.